Ari Lewis Show.
All right, welcome everyone to today's episode of the Ari Lewis Show here on IsraelSportsNewsRadio.com. Thank you for joining us. If you'd like to email us throughout the program, you could do so at ariLewisShow@hotmail.com, or you can email the station at IsraelSportsAndNewsRadio@gmail.com. Of course, a very interesting incident, if you will. A lot of confusion of what occurred on Sunday at the Kotel Rosh Chodesh involving Women of the Wall. We want to figure out actually what happened. Of course, Israel Sports News Radio is about getting to the truth, not just being mainstream media, reporting everything as usual. So it's a very special treat. On the line right now, Rabbi, writer, and activist, and she does a lot of work in general, but especially with Women of the Wall. Of course, Rabbi Susan Silverman. Rabbi, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So this is my understanding of what occurred. And again, I wasn't there. I know you were there. But basically, the Women of the Wall were praying, and they had a bigger Torah scroll that a man gave, and then it looked like the man was assaulted by the police. That's just my understanding. But you were there, so please tell us what happened.
Right. So some male allies procured a full-size Torah from the men's side of the mechitza. There are, I think, 100 Torahs made available to the men's side, none made to the women's side. And the law is that, or the rule of the Kotel, according to Rabinovich, who has the title of Rabbi of the Wall, does not allow people to bring Torahs in. So it gives women no options to read Torah at the Kotel. And so some male allies procured a Torah, and they read Torah, and they celebrated one of their sons' bar mitzvah there. And then when it was time for our Torah reading, they opened the gate, and a woman walked over, a woman from Women of the Wall, and took the Torah over so that we could celebrate with the Torah and read Torah. And there was, it was a lot of confusion, and I did not have a bird's eye view. I just know what I experienced there. And some men came over. Some of the male allies tried to guard the men from coming onto the women's side because they seemed to have kind of some violence in their energy, which in fact they did. And one of our male allies was thrown to the ground where he got a head injury. Another was shoved to the ground where somebody intentionally stomped on his chest with his foot, all in the name of Torah. And then one of the guys who got through the other side, I saw him coming around, and I was worried for what he would do to attempt to do to the women there. And so I chased after him, and I just yelled, I'm a woman, I'm a woman. And that scared him back to the other side.
The people that attacked this gentleman, were they security or just residents who were at the Kotel?
So I'm not exactly sure, and I know that there's an investigation pending right now. Luckily, because of cell phones, we have pictures of people who have done this, who were violent in this way, and so we'll have to see who that turns out to be. I think there was some security involved, but not police. So we'll see. We'll have to see.
Okay, now, are you concerned going forward that perhaps Women of the Wall will need more private security or something to try to prevent any type of physical violence from occurring?
Oh, I hope not. Now that we have the law on our side, in many respects, we have the police also on our side. And the police did come in, and they separated the violent men from the Women of the Wall allies, and seemed to sort of take control of the situation in a positive way. I think we can rely on the Jerusalem police for that. Okay.
And as far as the investigation, I guess the gentleman that was assaulted, is he going to press charges to the full extent of the law? And if so, what is the jail time potentially?
Oh, there are two men in that situation, okay. And my understanding is that they are both going to pursue justice. I have no idea what that will mean in terms of what will come of that pursuit.
When these type of things happen, do you feel that in some way it could be positive for Women of the Wall because it gives them more momentum or energy, more people pay attention more, they focus more on the cause? So is it somehow a blessing in disguise, if you will?
Well, I don't know it's very hard for me to feel any kind of joy around any kind of violence.
Right.
And if this violence weren't in place, then, and this need for like control over the holy space that the Haredim seem to have didn't exist, we wouldn't have the problem. Like we wouldn't need public attention. Like we'd prefer not to have public attention and to just live freely. Liot am chofshi b'artzenu.
Why do you think there is this type of energy from the Korean or from other people that are against what Women of the Wall is doing? Why is it so, I don't know, violent, or why is it so intense? Maybe that's a better word to say it.
All I can really say in response to that is that I really don't, it's hurtful to me when people who disagree with me try to guess my motivations. And so I'm not going to try to guess people's motivations. All I know is the actions, and I know that the actions are violent and that violence has no place in the public sphere. I'm not going to try to attribute motivations to them. They wouldn't be generous on my part.
Right, I hear that. Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show on IsraelSportsNewsRadio.com. Thank you for joining us. We're being joined by Rabbi Silverman, who is a writer and activist, and also, of course, works with Women of the Wall. Now, after this situation occurred, is the standard practice, let's say next Rosh Chodesh, to have a full-size Torah scroll, or will there be somewhat of a scale back because of what happened?
It'll, like Anat was saying, Anat Hoffman was saying afterward that it would be pretty hard to make that happen again, right? I think there'll be a lot of defense on the Haredi male side of the Mechitza.
Okay.
And so it's hard to imagine we will be able to pull that off again, but I hope that, as someone who made Aliyah, as someone who lived in America and came to Israel because I wanted to be part of this Jewish effort, to make a society, a just and a compassionate society. I just can't help but feel that there's got to be room for all of us at our holiest places.
Yeah, I mean, you would think so. Now, there's also some confusion, if you clarify for us, that originally there was some type of compromise where Women of the Wall was going to pray on a different side, but it appeared that the Rosh Chodesh that was not the case. So can you clarify what happened there?
Well, we just haven't had the agreement that we're moving toward is having that other section of the Western Wall to be a pluralistic place, but it's not set up for us yet. So until it's set up, we can't really use the place meaningfully.
Okay, so that's a situation there, but ideally Women of the Wall would, I imagine, not want that place, or do they have a preference of where they would like to pray at?
See, here's the thing. At least let me speak for myself. I mean,
Okay.
I'm part of Women of the Wall, but we're ourselves are pluralistic, and I can't speak for everybody. But to me, the point is that we don't have a small segment of Jews, Haredi male Jews, making the rules for all Jews. We're a Sinaitic people. We received the Torah all together at Sinai, each in his or her own way from God. And to have a small segment of the Jewish people making rules in holy spaces for all of us is, to me, it's idolatry. It's like if we can imagine what God wants in such a minute, narrow way, so what's the difference between holding God in a narrow way in our minds or in our hands? It's all idolatry. It's really problematic to me. So for me, it's not just a question of where we're praying. It's a question of how things work in our community. Right?
Okay, and also another interesting part of the story was if you could talk about some of the men that have been supporting Women of the Wall, because I think a lot of people think it's only women, but that's not true, and that was evident by this particular story because it was two men that helped bring the Torah over.
Right.
So if you just I know Women of the Wall has been around for a long time, but does it still surprise you that men are helping with this cause, or not so much anymore?
Oh, it's never surprised me.
Okay.
It's never surprised me. These are men who believe in a Sinaitic model, who believe that women are human beings who are in relationship with God as men are human beings in relationship with God as people are. And so it doesn't surprise me that men would be involved any more than women would be involved, because there are men who can see beyond their own gender in the world, thankfully.
What do you think will happen down the road with Judaism in Israel? Because it's interesting what the Women of the Wall does, because you talk about pluralistic Judaism. That's more of a common thing in the United States. Israel, at least among the Sephardim, is you're either Orthodox or you're not. Or even if you're not Orthodox, you only go to Orthodox synagogue. The Ashkenaz seem to have more diversity. So what do you think will occur in the next 10 to 15 years down the road?
I can't really predict what will happen, but what I hope will happen is that we will make room for a plurality of Jewish practice and ways of being Jewish. And it's funny because people who are against pluralism, who are ultra-Orthodox and oppose pluralism, say, oh, well, what are you going to do when the Jews for Jesus come? And I think, what's stopping anybody from that now? Nothing. All we're doing is trying to make this, it's like, I think there's a greater risk to society in having narrow, fundamentalist views become civil law than there is than there is risk in having a broad plurality of practice and ideas. I think that's really dangerous. And we see it all around us. What happens when a narrow group of people believe that they are absolutely right, and people either have to join them or be destroyed in some way? Well, I think that's really dangerous. I think it's way more dangerous than having broader borders and having room for a lot more people.
Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on IsraelSportsAndNewsRadio.com, and my guest is Rabbi Susan Silverman, writer and activist, and also with Women of the Wall. When you talk about the control of the Kotel, if you can just tell our audience a bit of who exactly decides the rules, who's in control, why they're in that position, how long they've been in that position, and also their relationship with Women of the Wall. I know that's a lot of questions, but answer at your leisure.
Okay, thanks. So the current rabbi of the Kotel, his name is Shmuel Rabinovich, and he's got a position that's funded by the government, and that has been a position that's a result of having, in the inception of the state, having sort of handed over religious authority to the Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox. And that may have worked for a while, but it certainly does not come anywhere close to working now. We have, 30% of weddings in Israel, not in Israel, of Israelis leaving the country to get married because they just refused to deal with the Rabbanut. We have crazy laws that you can't use the word kosher in a restaurant unless it's been by the Rabbanut. Like if anyone else is determining the kashrut of a place, you're not even allowed to use that word in the window or in a certificate. It's crazy, these laws. We have a Rabbanut that spent how much time worrying about the shape of berekas, whether the cheese berekas were this shape and the parv berekas were a different shape, because we had to make sure that you could tell if it was parv or if it was milk, because God forbid somebody mixes milk and meat by accident. And meanwhile, we have like 45,000 asylum seekers, who the stranger among us, who are treating like crap. Really? This is like what people call themselves rabbis are worried about? Like, as soon as a mitzvah becomes an end in itself, it is useless in my mind. Mitzvot are meant to build just and compassionate societies, and the second that we care only about the mitzvah and not the society that these mitzvot are meant to build, then we're sunk. Then there's no reason to have a Jewish state anymore.
It is interesting that if you look in Tanakh, you look at the prophecies, the prophets focus more on compassion as opposed to ritual laws, right?
Right.
So that's something that is a message sometimes that's forgotten from time to time. A few minutes we have left with you. I want to know the condition of the two men that are attacked, if you could tell us, because, obviously our prayers are with them, and we hope they have the speedy recovery. Can you tell us what their status is, if they're doing okay right now?
So I'm not sure, because I actually did try to call, but they didn't answer. I think they're just very involved in trying to heal and get better. I know that I know that Charlie for sure, and I believe Alden have both seen doctors at this point. Charlie was detained by the police, and it took a long time till they let him go to an emergency room to find out how serious his head injury was. But they're both still suffering. We'll see where it leads.
Okay, well, I hope they get better as soon as possible, and sorry that had to happen to them. We appreciate the time, and, we'll be happy to interview again the next time after Rosh Chodesh, because I want to get an update of what's going on and make sure you guys don't have this type of thing again. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Again, Rabbi Susan Silverman.
Thank you so much. All the best with this endeavor.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And thank you everyone for listening. Again, we just spoke with Rabbi Susan Silverman of Woman of the Wall. Rabbi, thank you so much, and enjoy Yom HaTzmaut coming up.
Thank you.
All right, be well. Bye-bye.
Bye.